My question is, does it make sense to actually get rid of the Action 5 and potentially get another Nano? I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but to go from this to a neck mount like this, which goes under here, and then that camera gets magnetized to here, there's nothing. I mean, it's non-existent. It becomes a ghost camera. And that has just sort of like, it's been like an epiphany for me over the last couple days, and I'm having a hard time thinking otherwise. I'm having a hard time really looking at it and going, well, you're just trigger happy, or you're in the honeymoon stage of this camera, right? But I don't think I am. I'm trying to think of it logically. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Please, I'm in the middle of figuring this out. All right, so one, most importantly, I don't know if you guys have this by you, but this is what we call a mudslide. It is fries with cheese and gravy. A quick little thought. I call them rant. Rant's not the right word. A little extended thought, right? My take on this camera, the DJI Osmo Nano, has really done a full 180 over the last arguably like week. When this camera came out, my immediate thought instinctually was that this is an Action 5. It arguably has the exact same specs as the Action 5, just in a slightly different form factor. And looking at it and then looking at the use case, etc., they basically took a cleaver and cut the Action 5 in half. And now they have, the pod and they have the dock, right? So I didn't really see the advantage of it versus the Action 5, which I have up here. If anything, the Action 5 just seemed more of like a reliable camera for, I guess you would say, for like vlogging. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, these are both action cameras, arguably, but now that they are kind of repurposed by the general public now, or being repurposed as like vlogging everyday cameras, it just seems like that's the nicer, more solid, more reliable, better spec'd camera. And by specs, I mean the only difference between that camera, the Action 5, the only difference is between the Action 5 and the Nano, arguably, without getting into crazy details, are three things, I think. One, if you're looking at the actual color quality of it, I believe, and I guess it's not color, it's tone and light. I believe like a fraction ahead is the Action 5 when it comes to dynamic range. Not anything that you or I believe the naked eye could really tell the difference on. But via a spec sheet, I believe the Action 5 is slightly ahead on the dynamic range, but barely. Other than that, they're pretty much the same spec cameras. Now, separately, the other thing, there's three, but the second one is battery, right? So the battery on the Action 5 is a full battery that's replaceable. Okay, so you have some advantages to that. So the Action 5 has, what is it, the 1950 milliamp, something like that, battery. It lasts like 4 hours plus. You could buy that little recharging case with 3 batteries, and like, I didn't get that because I never thought I would need them, and I don't. I mean, I have a second battery. I think I've used it like once, and it was only because I forgot to charge that battery overnight and needed the camera the next morning. But even if you remember and you're like, okay, well, I'm not leaving for 30 minutes, let me charge it now, it recharges to like 75% in like 20 minutes. So you're pretty much good with one battery. I think the second battery is a great insurance policy in case you need it. But okay. The battery on this, I think the pod, the actual camera, is rated to like 90 minutes. I would say that's probably too much, just knowing how manufacturers rate the statistics. It's probably inflated. And if you have this spec'd out, meaning you're using the highest bit rate, you're using the highest recording, 4K and high frame rate, etc., it's probably not going to last more than 70, right? So, okay, you have 70 minutes on the actual pod, but if you're using the dock, right? If I'm using it for like B-roll and clips here and there, meaning just not like a long form recording for 30, 40 minutes, I'm going to put it back on the pod if it's not already on the pod. Like, it's on the pod right now. You can't see it, but The pod is going to record it every time you is going to recharge it. Every time you reattach the pod to the base, so you attach the camera to the screen base, the dock, is pushing energy or charge back up to it. It's always trying to make sure that the camera is at full charge so much as it can. So your dock will run out first. Meanwhile, it could fully charge the camera. So yes, you could call it, I think, 70 minutes on the camera itself, but it's a good question, which I'll probably look up in a minute, is how long will the combination work? Where you're using the dock's power to supply the camera for as long as it can. How long will that be? And that's got to be a couple hours. So it's got to be comparable to the Action 5. But either way, I'm never really in a circumstance where I would be running out of that much battery. I think this camera uses its intended purpose well, which is that it's a very nimble little inconspicuous camera for like B-roll, etc. You're not going to be recording podcasts on it. You're not going to be doing very long form videos on it. I mean, I'm doing one right now, but you get the point, right? So now the third, I think, and final difference between these two cameras would be a little bit more subjective, but I mean, everyone would probably agree that the Action 5 is probably more durable. It's probably more suited to be an action camera, whereas this one, it does come across a bit fragile. I don't think it's as fragile as like the Pocket 3, just because it has the working gimbal and actual vulnerability in the arm, the gimbal arm. I think this is fine. I mean, I don't think you have to really worry about it. Yes, it's a light camera. Yes, it's plastic, but you can get a case if you want to. I think this is the type of camera though where you don't want that, because you want it to be as light as possible. You want it to be as nimble as possible. So like they're not the same in that category, but I think they're not supposed to be the same in that category, which is durability. That said, I don't use the Action 5 for like rock climbing or like, big wave surfing or anything that would be considered like a durability tester. I don't do that. I mean, the most crazy thing that I do is I mount that to a neck mount right here, actually. And I have this around my neck, and I go and take photos in New York City, like street photography. That's the extremeness of that camera. When I first when I first got it, I was in love with it so much, and I treated it with such high regard. I still do, obviously, that I got the best cage for it, which is this small rig metal cage, and it's insanely durable. I mean, I could throw this thing around no problem, but it does add a lot of weight to it. And there's an advantage to that, which is that like it's a counterweight, right? So if I have that on a selfie stick, like here, if I take that Action 5 and I put it on a selfie stick as I'm walking, it's not light enough that this is happening. It's heavy enough that it actually almost just balances itself, and you have a much smoother footage. It's more stabilized. So it's an advantage of it being heavier. But if I want to mount that camera to anything, it is a little heavy, right? I have a suction mount for the car, but I do worry sometimes it's going to fall off. Even on the outside of the car, I would worry. This camera has the tiny little suction cup, which is somewhere. It's over there. And you could just, with your thumb, just go and just stick it to the window, and it will stay because it weighs nothing. I mean, it literally weighs nothing. It's a hidden advantage of this camera that because they separated the base from the camera got so light that it is insanely nimble, and it can go anywhere at any point, and you're fine. And it almost makes this, it almost seems as if the Action 5 now is a little bit heavier, and almost kind of like a burden. And that's a crazy thing to say, but using these two cameras, I by default now go to this one because I'm getting basically the exact same quality out of it. And as long as I have storage space and battery, why wouldn't I grab this one, right? And it's more versatile. I can put it in different places. So my question is, does it make sense to actually get rid of the Action 5 and potentially get another Nano? I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but I'm just thinking in theory, because if I'm looking to have two angles and I got the Nano so that I could have a secondary angle quickly and all over the place because it's so light and nimble and stickable, And now I have the pendant right here, which is way better than the neck mount. It's also way more inconspicuous, goes under your shirt. The magnet is insane on it. And it's way smaller than the Action 5. And then you have the the brim mount, the hat mount, which is awesome. And it's also on a pivot. And the suction cup, let me get it. Yeah, I don't know if anybody really knows this, but this suction cup is great because it's screwed on the base of the ball mount with a quarter 20. But you can use this for anything, okay? Like, obviously, I don't need it for this selfie stick, but okay, now I have it, right? So, I mean, I didn't know that when I got it, that this was a suction cup and just a versatile ball mount with a quarter 20. So, I mean, the accessories for this camera are perfect, and they filled the gaps to allow you to be creative in any regard. So now it's just like a question of like, okay, well then what was the advantage over this camera for the Action 5? If you already have it and you just want one camera, no worries. But the second I got this as my secondary camera, I immediately saw the advantages of it over the initial camera. And I quickly realized that there aren't really any advantages of the Action 5 over this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Please. I'm in the middle of figuring this out. So I'm trying to understand it. And I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I wonder if I could potentially, right now, just sell off my Action 5, which is in perfect condition with all the accessories that I have, and just grab another one of these. And then, just adjust it a little bit. You're good to go. And like, this doesn't get in the way. I mean, it's around my neck, but this is a great setup considering. So I've used this a few times and I love it. And I don't know. So anyway, that's that. I thought I would throw this out there and see what people think. Now, this works the same way for the 360 Go Ultra, right? I mean, they're interchangeable cameras with regards to this. It's the concept, right? So, if you had a DJI Action 5 and then you also got the Go Ultra as like a secondary camera or as like a nano camera for more versatility, angles, all of that, you have to kind of be going through this like experience in the same regard. Like, this thought process has to kind of go through your mind, because I think you'll start to natively use the pod cameras, the Nano or the Go Ultra, over the larger cameras, which could be like the Ace Pro 2 or the Action 5, or a 360 like the X5 or the Osmo 360. Right? It doesn't matter. The point is that these cameras are the smallest, and if the sensor and the bit rate and the quality and the dynamic range, all of it is comparable, then explain to me why you would choose the larger camera over this one in any circumstance other than battery or storage capacity. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. I want to hear people's thoughts. Please, someone say something. Let me know your thoughts, because this is a conversation that I think is going to be pretty relevant, if not already, very soon. So, all right, I'm going to eat my fries. See you guys.